This is 7395A, the Script Kid in Fantasyland Workshop, Tape 1.
What Ted is passing out, welcome everybody. I'm glad to see all of you. Some of my regular people in my living room, and now this. This that Ted is handing out is an outline, just what it says, for Script Kid in Fantasy. And this, I'm just going to read it to you so it can get on the tape too. This is the program that was given to me, and it seems to be working really well. By all means, it is not the definitive program, because each monitor and workshop and leader teacher will find the program that works the best for them. I have more. Anyway, you will find what will work best for you. This is just to give you like something to go on if you want it. I originally put this together for the people who were out of town who were doing their classes, and but I found that the information within it was so helpful to the people in my own classes that I just started giving these out anyway. And so whether you're giving or getting, I hope this will help you on your search. Number one, these are all of the recommended tapes that Barbara suggested. Well, she did more than suggest. These are the tapes you really ought to have to start your tape group. And I want to say first of all, though, that Joel's work, he brought through the nature of God. And what Barbara brought through was the nature of error. And that's what Script Kid and Fantasyland is. It's the nature of error. And as she says, it's the truth that makes you free. She gave this to us because we had all been working for years and years and years on getting our souls in order, and people were still having problems with their 3D lives. And Barbara also, and I'm sure you know this story, and she said, why, since we have so many principles, why are we still having trouble in our lives? And why am I in particular having trouble with my own particular needle? And God said, because he is a perfect reader of your script. And she said, what script? What are you talking about? And that's when this entire lesson came through. So this is the nature of error. It's 3D, but and I always let anybody who wants to, who seems interested at all coming into my classes, they don't have to have had a lot of Joel in order to do this work. It helps to have a developed God consciousness, but you can develop that as you go. So I never tell anybody that they can't come to the class. I let them hear an overview and actually hear both of the overviews and then have a one-on-one with me. And then if it rings a bell with them, I say, come on in. So this, number one, are all the tapes that Barbara strongly suggests. And if people come in the class later on after I've already started it, then I just let them catch up and loan out my tapes and do all of that. You can read this for yourselves. It's later on, but it's important that everybody has to go through everything that we went through in order to, quote, get out, because that's the way it works. So that when you, even if you're doing the work by yourself, and Barbara gives an instruction about making, let's just say, make a hate list of everything you ever thought you hated. Be sure you do that, because within the hate list, you will find it's a really big clue to what your hidden script is, which we'll get into later. Well, I say that right there. Now, this is all about how I was running my script classes, and you can just read this and do this on your own. I don't need to take this time to do this. I do set a time limit for my classes of 2 hours, and that always included, and you'll want to do this for yourself. If you're doing this all by yourself and you're like putting yourself through this class, if you take 1 day a week and listen to one tape and do the homework on that tape, and give yourself the instruction that week, let's say the first week, of recognition, which is recognizing when you are in script. In other words, I'm trying to show you how to be your own teacher in this, because some of you, how many of you are out of town and can't get to classes? Yeah. So, like Barbara, can you do this? I mean, you're going to be doing this on your own, right?
Right.
Okay, let me just direct it to you then. I mean, because everyone who's doing it by themselves would do it. Get these tapes. Mm-hmm. The first week, just listen to overview. Just listen to the one overview, because believe me, there is so much information in there. Second week, and just think about it, just think about it. Just let it sink in. Second week, do the second overview. And then the third week, go back to where Barbara starts talking about step 1, which is recognition of whether or not your script is in gear. And cue it up. That means to turn it to the spot in the overview tape where she talks about recognition, and that's the first step. Listen to that again, because by now you would have said, what did she say about recognition? Listen to that again. So that's really fresh in your mind, and give yourself that assignment that week, that I am going to be looking for recognition of my hidden script being in gear. And then the next week, if you can get that and it's solid and you know every time that you're in script, have you all heard the overviews? You have. So you know what, okay, then you know that recognition of the first step is if emotion is in gear, and that has the dialogue connected to it. Okay. Then just take yourself through. It's all here, how to do it and stuff. I want to just get this on this tape that first and foremost, Barbara asks us for spiritual integrity in running these tape groups, and that means starting the tape meeting with meditation. Then I play the tape, and then I also do a real short meditation after I play the tape before we start talking, because I liked, as Barbara says, to let that go from the mind to the heart. And then after that meditation, then I do the class on a one-on-one. I literally go around the room, because I have, like, my biggest class, I think, is like 8 people. And I just do one-on-one, because that's the only way I know how to do it, just one-on-one. Where are you? What's been going on in your life? What events have happened to you? And how many lessons did you have? And where are you on the program? And so, and then after I get around as many people as I can, we have another meditation, and then we go out, and no talking, no coffee, none of that stuff. Okay, the rest of this program is all broken down, literally, about each step of the script. So before I get into this, and since you've all done some work, let's go to the floor and see if you have what your questions are. Let me see where you are with this work, and if you have specific questions. Peter?
Yeah.
Didn't you say you had questions?
Oh, heavens, I haven't written them down, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Let me see. I've got a group of 3, there's 3 of us working.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I can see, we've got to step 3. We've each found our hidden script.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to step 3, and they're having difficulty on step 4. In other words, getting to the stage where they see the nothingness of their script.
Mm-hmm. Have they really completed step 3 in accepting the responsibility?
I think, I was saying last time that I thought that one had to get the realization of that forgiveness before you'd actually completed that step.
No, the forgiveness step is step 4. Step 3 is the accepting the responsibility. Right. That's the beginning. step 3 is the beginning of forgiveness, but it's not the forgiveness step. And it's the beginning of forgiveness because accepting the responsibility that we wrote the script, but we wrote that in ignorance based on erroneous conclusions, right? I mean, like Barbara was saying today, you can't, the other day, or one day, you can't expect a child to know algebra when he's still doing, regular math. So that back then, in the lifetimes before, because we've been writing these same scripts from the beginning, what?
We're also working with the Thunder of Silence, the first part of which is entirely devoted to karmic law.
To karmic,
Which is completely involved in the responsibility side.
That's right. That's right.
So we're pretty well on with that side. We fully accepted the fact that we've done it.
Right. Okay. Well then, accepting responsibility. I wrote it. This is all, by the way, this is all from the overview, so you all have this. These are just my own personal notes. I wrote it, and therefore I'm totally responsible for it. I am the cause of it all. Then I added, because it's just the way it is, that this is exactly hooked in with what Joel says, that everything that happens to you is an outpicturing of your own state of consciousness, or we get back what we throw out. Recognizing that it has been the power in my life, it has governed my life, it has created the events and found the people who will read it back to me. Accepting responsibility is the beginning of forgiveness. So now you say that now they're going on to step 4, which is the realization on power. That's my favorite step. Where is the problem? That they can't really realize that they don't have the power not to radiate it?
They don't realize that how you get rid of your script is to realize it's nothingness,
right,
which is all no power.
Right.
And that step is more difficult for them. I found that step because I'd done a lot of work on one power before that.
Right.
But they haven't done so much work, so I don't know whether there's another way round.
There is. Are you aware of what Barbara talks about getting off of the stage? That's a really nice metaphor about when you're in your script, and you're up there and you're in the script. You say, "Whoa, I'm in my script," and get off the stage and get into the audience.
Yeah,
watch it.
I think more work needs to be done on that.
Yeah, because that is disengage as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Disengage. Well, as you said today when we were talking, it's hard work, and it's a muscle. This is a muscle too. And what Barbara brought through is totally destroying all of that stuff everything that we came in with, from all that, and all of it, every bit of it, and it's all good and evil, too. I also, which I included in here, I also include giving them a copy of the declaration exercises. So just in case they're not on this path, and they don't know about developing God consciousness, you can say, well, if you are interested, you might really look these over and then go to work on these, and these will, because I bet you you're getting from your students, but I don't have any eye to go to.
Yeah, they haven't developed that side.
Yeah. So this,
in other words, the awareness exercise.
Right, the awareness exercise, and also I include the qualities of the adult, because when I sometimes in script, sometimes I would go to the list of the adults and see where I was not. I'd say, whoa, okay, I wasn't there. Now that's where I was not, because if I'm in my adult, I've got it, So sometimes it's just as well to know where you're not. All right, well, let's go to step, what? Yes.
I have a couple Barbara talks a lot about the one emotion that human beings can't stand, and that's that sense of powerlessness.
Right.
So that when your script is in gear, when you have that sense of powerlessness, say if you and you're feeling like you're powerless to change yourself or that other person, and there's emotion present, and you really begin to feel quite powerless
Until you're not.
until you're not. When you strike,
Yeah.
strike back.
Right.
So I know this sounds a little strange, but there's an emphasis put on to disengage. I often find that when I had that feeling of powerlessness, and then you don't want to feel that, so you start to do whatever you can to feel more powerful, that I can't disengage. It's often I've been on a long-distance car trip or in a plane or something, and you can't escape that individual. It's funny. If I can disengage, no problem, but I found that more and more frequently I'm in a situation where I can't get away, literally, physically, there's no escape.
Can you be quiet and get back into the silence? Can you just tell that other person and say, you know, you can be very loving about it. I know it's very hard to be very loving about it when you're in the middle of your script, but if you can, this is how you do it. You say, look, I'm having a lot of trouble here, and I just really need to be quiet, I just really need to be quiet. It has nothing to do with you, because that's truth. It has nothing to do with them. It's all you. If you're an emotion, it's you. Even if he's or she or is in emotion, that's their thing. So you can say, this is just the best you can. I'm in a lot. I need to really be quiet here now, and it has nothing to do with you. And if you could just give me, let's just take a timeout little thing, and then see what you can, see if you can sit there and do the work. Which means, okay, now, you know what the work is? What?
Oh, specifically
Yeah.
why you're being quiet?
What are you doing when you're saying, I have to be quiet here? I know I've got you on the spot, but...
Well, maybe just trying to, if possible, I don't know if it's possible when you're in that frame of mind, but to bless that person or to...
That's where you're going, and it'd be wonderful if you can, if you're that far along. My question to you is, if you're in the beginning of this work, you might have to say, okay, wait a minute, step one, I'm in recognition. Okay, I'm definitely in script. He's in script too, or she's in script too. Okay, I can't split, because that's what you're supposed to do when both people are in. So now I'm going to split all by myself here. And okay, it's my script, and it's his script too, but I've got to deal with my script. Can I accept the responsibility that I wrote it? Now sit there and say, can I accept the responsibility that I wrote this? Oh God, what a terrible script I wrote it, And okay, I wrote it in ignorance, and it served me back then when I needed it for survival, but I don't need to do that now. And yeah, I can accept it, and just keep trying to accept the responsibility. Then you can go to step 4. Say, okay, I've accepted the responsibility now. Okay, step 4 now, I realized that I didn't have the power not to radiate my script. And he didn't have the power not to read it because it's so magnetic that you just pulled him in. And he didn't have the power not to radiate his script. And you didn't have the power not to read his script because it's so powerful. And say, okay, I realized that that's how it happened. And now I can really start to forgive myself, and I can also start to forgive him. And then you go, if you can, to step 5, which is drop all concern, knowing if I am the cause, capital I, there is only one I. If I am the cause, I am the solution. And then, by then, you try to be where you can now go back and get the solution, which ought to bring the peace. And then you bless not only you, but him too. Now, I want to say something right now before I forget, because this is about reading somebody else's script. That's step 7. No, it's step 6, 4th dimension. And it's you are powerful enough to refrain from ever reading somebody's script back to him. You can now see it. You can recognize his suffering. You have the power not to read it back. You understand the nature of the script. You know what the script is because of what's coming out of the mouth. You can also refrain from reacting to your own script because now I am the solution, and we do this a little at a time. Okay, I'm just going to give you my experience. When I was working, when my husband would go into script, Les, if you hear these tapes, just, thank God you were used as being an instrument, dear. When my husband would get into script, the first time I saw him getting into script, and I felt that I was strong enough not to read it. And I just stood there and did what Barbara says to do, which is you stand there and you don't read it back, and he's going, and I'm staring there, and I'm not reading it back, and I'm not reading it back, and I'm staying, and I'm getting back into the silence. And I have to tell you that it took me 3 days to recover from that physically, because I was like so hard. And I went to Barbara after that, and I said, I did it. I didn't read his script back. It took so much muscle not to do that. And I said, you delivered that message so long ago, and it's just now that I felt that I had the strength to do it. You know what she said to me? Tricia, you could have done it long ago. And I said, okay. And so, but she was right, and of course she was right. Because the second time I did it, it was easy. Oh, by the way, when I stood there and let him just be in his script and I didn't read it back, it was an instant healing for him. I mean, he just let it out, and I just stood there, and he just let it out, and I was just pouring love and pouring love and pouring love. And after he was all done, there was nothing in our house but love, and I just walked around going, God, this really works, like I've done a lot of times. And so the second time so it really affected a healing for him and for me too. The second time that I did it, it was much easier, and it didn't take so much out of me. And the third time, like the first time took me like 3 days. It'll be different for everybody. It took me 3 days the first time to recover, 2 days to recover the second time, and 1 day to recover the second time. And now when he goes into script, I go, oh, he's in script, and I go to work for him right away, and I never even have a problem with it. I just go to work. So what it took was the courage. That's what I said to Barbara. I said, I wish I had the courage to have done that so long ago. And she said, you could have. And so I just want to pass that on, that if you have the opportunity, and you probably all do, of just to stand there and not read back their scripts. It's a muscle, and it's like lifting a lot of weight, but you can do it, and watch what happens to your relationships when you do that. But, Kay.
Well, I don't know what it was he was saying, okay?
Yeah.
Whatever part of his script was in. I don't know if it was something he was angry at you about or just his own thing. But
Well,
did you not respond to him at all? Like,
No.
say nothing?
No.
Not a word? You
Nothing.
Just sit there.
Nothing.
So, I mean, because it seems like it would be different if his script writer Gary was angry at you or if it was some problem you were having.
Well, I don't know. It seems that when people are in script, they're always trying to key you in. They're trying to set you up. They're trying to set you up. Yeah. And so he was, but I didn't.
You didn't get into the drama.
No.
I understand that, but would it also be appropriate, when you're back to, because maybe they want to hear something like, oh, I hear what you're saying, or I'm sorry you're going through that, or...
Yeah, well, it depends on where they are. My husband is my husband doesn't do that anymore I believe because of this work. But at that point, when he was so volatile, I couldn't get a word in edgewise. It didn't matter, I guess later on I probably went over and rubbed his back and said, I love you, honey, and I'm sorry you're going through this, and you know, I'm sure I did that, but not in the middle of it. No. You had your hand up?
Yes, I was considering the frustration of somebody, just as you were thinking, of not replying to somebody that is in anger.
Well, if you feel that somebody needs a response, you can say, I am really sorry that you're going through that, and I can really see that you're suffering, and I'm really sorry.
What I've said in a situation like that, I've said, excuse me, I need to use the bathroom. And I'm walking away and thinking, I bet they're just driving. They're just going mad because I'm walking away from this.
I know. My husband used to do that too. But let me ask you a question. Were you in script when you said I have to go to the bathroom?
I think probably one time I was, and the other time I wasn't.
Well, the time that you were, that's the appropriate thing to do, is to split.
To split, right.
When two scripts are in gear, we split. If his was in, his or her, if his was in gear and yours wasn't,
shouldn't by you standing in I, you should be led to the appropriate response? Like if you're standing in I and somebody's in script there, and if you're in non-reaction, the fact that you're in I will lead you to the
Sure.
correct response.
Right.
We couldn't hear her.
That if you, well, say it again.
If you're in I and someone else is in script and they scream it out on you and you don't react, the fact that you're in I, and if you stand in that, you should be led to the appropriate human behaviour to
Right.
deal with that person.
But the two things that Barbara says that everybody wants to know is that when everybody is screaming out, all what they want is to be seen and to be heard. So if you use those words, I see that you're suffering and I hear your pain, or something like that, just know that that's what they need to hear. So that, you may be saying other things, but eventually it cuts through a lot if you can find your own words to say, I see your suffering and I hear your pain. Yeah.
One of the things I heard Kate saying, and maybe it doesn't make a difference, if someone's script isn't here and they are attacking you, or they're criticizing you or verbally abusing you, my sense, if someone's confronting me that way, is to withdraw, like go to the bathroom. If someone has a problem, then it's easier to have sympathy, as you say, or to have compassion and stand in the eye and say, I hear you. But if someone is, I know it's our responsibility, I know in a sense that we don't really need to stand there and take that, though. Even if we do take responsibility, why would we want to stand and have someone, even if we're not in our script?
Because if you can stand there and you're not in script and they're just blasting at you, it's hard, but we're gearing up. The goal is to be able to stand there and deliver love.
Yeah.
It's all hypnosis anyway.
Yeah.
So if you can stand there while this person is barraging you, it's you're putting water on the rock, and it's hard. That's why it's hard. Yeah, Steve.
Oh, well, I was going to say that step, the fourth dimension step, where you refrain from participation, means that you're in the adult.
That's right.
And so you're in the adult, you are then able to be loving and responsible.
Right.
And the other person who's in script is by definition then in kid.
Exactly.
And as you said, all the kid needs to be is to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
So being in your adult, you can stand there
Right.
and deliver love by just seeing and hearing this person, and
Right.
that means you sometimes don't have to say anything.
And you know what? You you do not have to listen.
No.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
Just that I have an 18-year-old and a 3-year-old who get into script with some frequency, as you probably know if you have children. And I've had to do that hundreds of times. You just stand there and you let their script come up against you. But to enter into conversation with them would be pointless. First of all, they couldn't hear what I had to say.
Right.
and there's no reason to interrupt it. I just let it. It's like letting it crash up against you,
Mm-hmm.
and you just stand in love,
Yeah,
and it dissolves the anger.
Remember a long time ago, years ago, Barbara talked about if we have the courage to stand there and let that wash up, that we become, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we become like a mirror for them, and that they can see themselves, and they go, because if you're not absorbing it in, then you've become this mirror, then it goes back to them, and they can see what they're doing and hear what they're saying. Isn't that
Yeah,
right?
it actually fizzles them out.
Yeah,
I learned that from Barbara because I worked with her and her children. And I saw her children do that to her so many times.
Yeah.
And she would just stand there and
Right.
they would go,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it would be gone. And nothing there. Because she just stood there.
It's hard. It's
Yeah,
really
it is hard.
it's really hard. But I guess if I don't do anything else, I just want to say it does take courage to stand there. But you know what you can do? I had my hands behind my back, and I was holding myself. You know, I was like holding myself so that I could do that. I was giving courage, you know, and I just remember doing that, just holding the line, and so as soon as you can do it, start doing it, because it is the one that is the most fruitful for healing, you know. And as Barbara said today, we have to get rid of script, and those of us who are out have to do that. We have to be able to stand there and do it for your brother. Okay. Let me get somebody else. Dulcie.
Yeah, I had a lot of experiences lately where I'll be in a crowd where there's two people going at each other in script, and I found that I can deliver love right there, and within seconds the argument dissolves if I'm like a witness to the, and
Right.
just start pouring love. And lately, I mean, that's much easier to do than when you're in it yourself,
Mhm.
of course. But I've noticed that if we are going to be helping to heal the world, over and over I've run into people fighting or kids getting beat by the, in
Yeah.
parking lots, and I just like, our husbands and wives, and I'll see them stop their cars and jump out, and I just go right there and say, I go script in gear,
Right.
script in gear,
Yeah.
and deliver love, and it dissolves for them too, even though I'm,
You know, you can do that with, you probably know this, with dogs barking at night
Yes.
before I go to bed. I mean, it'll seem like all the dogs in my neighborhood are barking. And I just go to work, and I send it out, and I mean, like in seconds, because they're so receptive. Everybody's quiet. It's just incredible. I just think it's incredible. Yes. I don't know your name.
My name is Stefan.
Pardon?
Stefan.
Stefan, hi.
My question is, what if you have a parent or a boss or someone you're working with? Say,
You know what, Stefan? Can you speak up so this microphone can get you? Because these people who are going to hear the tape will want to hear your question.
let's say you have a parent or a boss, possibly a director that you're working with, and they're very controlling, and they don't really respect your opinions or your ways of working or what you're doing, and they start ordering you around and controlling, and they're in what's possibly can be construed as script. They're doing their little drama, and they're controlling you. And do you just send love and go ahead and be controlled, or do you face them and say, look, you're not respecting me as a person, and do you face them?
First of all, are you in emotion when you're dealing with this person? And when this person is controlling you, are you in emotion?
I think at this point, I'm able to recognize and stay out of emotion right at the beginning. But my main question is how to deal with it. Am I dealing with it wrong by saying, look, you're doing this and this and this to me, you're not respecting me as a person,
No,
that's hurting me? Or do you just go ahead and go with it and let them control
No,
you, manipulate
no.
you, and just love it?
You go to work on yourself. In other words, he's reading your script. And that means you're radiating it until you get rid of it. Maybe your script is, and it's not my job to figure out by hidden script, but just from what you said, it might be you will always be controlled. And he's only reading it, so that if somebody is controlling me, and I had that kind of a script, I would have to, and I would like, don't control me, I would have to say, wow, recognize this is my script. I recognize I'm in script, it's my script, I accept the responsibility that I wrote it, and then go on to the next steps. And so that every time this person does this to you, just know that he's reading your script, which means you're radiating it. And what happens is that in the recognition of it and in doing this script work and slowly destroying our script by recognition, because every time we go to work on this, we tear a page off. We tear a page off. So that, in other words, he doesn't have step 4. He doesn't have the power not to read your script because it's so magnetic. And if he is a very dominating kind of a guy, that's his thing. But and you could possibly work with a very dominating kind of a person and not get emotionally upset about it. Then you're okay. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying don't like say, okay, I'm a little upset about this, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it and do the work for him. By all means, continue to do the work for him. He's being used as an instrument to teach you these lessons, but you have to go to work on yourself. Remember that your script is so powerful, Stefan. It's lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. That answer that question?
It does.
And I also want to get, what, Paul?
Could it be with an individual like that he's obstreperous, pushing, shoving, demanding, this kind of personality, but if he's doing it with several people or everybody, could it be that what he's doing is involving himself in a kind of behavior to counteract his script? And
Sure.
That it's not mine he's reading.
It could very well be, but if Stefan has an emotion about it, it's definitely his script.
Oh, that's true.
Right. But you can get to a point, Stefan, when you're no longer in your script anymore. I'm talking about after you've done some work, where you can go to someone and be in your adult and say to them two positives and the negative, so that they will be able to hear you. But you can't do it when you're in emotion, you can't do that.
So it is okay to confront them with what they're doing if you're not in emotion?
Yes, if you are willing to look at the worst case scenario. In other words, are you attached to this job? You know what I'm saying?
Actually, for me, the problem isn't the job. They can have the job. It's dealing with this.
Well, if you're not in emotion and then Barbara's always said that it's very important to express our feelings until you get to the point where you don't. But this work is we learn it like this. And we get to a certain level, and we all do this, and then Barbara would just flip the coin, and it was like everything was opposite now. We learn always express your feelings, until you got so developed in your I consciousness, your adult, that the adult could now take care of the kid. And then she said, never express your feelings. But until you've gone through this point of expressing your feelings and allowing your kid to come up and of taking care of your kid and expressing
the feelings with two positives and then the negative. Like, I really love working with you, and I've always admired your work, but when you say this to me, it makes me feel da-da-da-da-da-da.
Is it okay to flop those?
No. Because the reason for the two positives is this. It soothes their ego enough so that they can even hear you. And it takes two to overcome the one. And I just want to go one thing back to you about the respect thing. Respect has to be earned. You can't demand it. That's all. Well, just so you. What?
I was going to say, in reference to saying the two and then the one, it's been my experience for myself that I can be real slippery about thinking that I'm not in
Not
the
what?
script.
Oh, yeah?
And say those two and the one, thinking that I'm not in script, that I'm like really just being real centered.
Yeah.
And then discover afterwards that I definitely was in script.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure, so you learned a lesson. Right?
Yeah, I never even heard of this stuff until about 10 days ago. I'm talking about from my experiences from using Bradshaw's.
Oh, sure.
And that I know that it's real easy to think that you're being clean with someone when you're going to make a mistake.
Oh, yeah, but now that you know, now that you've been listening, have you heard the overviews?
Yes, I am.
Well, now that you've done that, welcome. Welcome, because it's a whole other ball game now. It's just I have to tell you, when Barbara made her transition, she said that these tools are our heritage. And these tools are incredible once you pick them up and learn how to do it. So you won't do that anymore, because if you're in script means you have emotion. Emotion means you have dialogue, which means you're getting stuff in your head that's saying, you shouldn't have done that, and why did you do this, and you better tell them that, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And are you going to stand for that, and all that stuff. Feelings, which you heard Barbara say today, are the only thing that's real about you. And they don't have words. So that if you're like, and you're like fussing with somebody, and you go to them in that state, and you give them the two positives and the negative, it's better than not. It's better than just blasting them, but it's not where you want to go and where you're going to go. What? Yeah.
I just wanted to say that from doing my experience of the script, I one time had someone screaming at me, red-faced, in the face, and I immediately went into working script, the scripts in gear, or else if I'm not picturing this, my script's in gear, I don't care what I'm feeling, 'cause
why could they be doing that to me?
You're in script.
Because any words at all like, geez, I'm a nice person, why are they yelling?
Right.
Anything is emotion because you're thinking.
That's right.
And so anything that happens, if somebody's doing some bizarre stuff, I gotta look right here. And the amazing thing was, they changed and they kind of went, turned around and walked in.
Yeah.
It changes the picture.
Right.
But always in the first place, I was really resistant to the fact because I wasn't feeling emotional like angry or violent or dramatic.
Right.
I was just thinking, how can they possibly say that to me?
Right.
Any anything.
Yeah.
So I really think that most of the time, anything that's happened that's the least bit of a disturbance is my script.
That's right.
I'm out fixing it.
You know, when you're all by yourself. Let's talk about reading a script to yourself.
Yeah.
When you're just all by yourself, and all of a sudden you go tilt, you know, and you've just gotten, and you go, whoa, God, what was that? And it's like, it never stops. The devil is a constant. It's not a power, but it is a constant temptation, and it just never stops. So, you know, first of all, it seems like we start to clear up this stuff, you know, people at us, and that stops happening. And then you go, whoa, you know, I'm cool here. And then you start getting, now you're really finessing, and you're really, now your script starts reading it to yourself, and then you can just be walking along, and you go, tilt. I'm sure this happens with all of us. And you just keep walking along, and then you say, God, why do I feel, you know, why did I feel so funny? And then you go back on your tape and say, oh, I remember I had that thought about da-da-da-da-da-da. And from that moment back there when you had the thought about da-da-da-da-da-da, you're gone. And in dealing with reading your script to yourself, Barbara says, that if you can recognize it right away, like if you start getting the hypnotic suggestion, like let's say I'm coming out of an audition and I'm getting, oh God, you know, you really messed up that audition. What?
Excuse me for a minute. Everybody's getting a little impatient about the sound downstairs.
Oh,
there's an auction going on downstairs.
Yeah.
Somebody has been asked to turn it down, but it'll take a little while.
Oh, I don't care. I mean, does it bother you?
It'll bother
It's going to be hard to
It's better now. Okay, so if Barbara says that if you start to read the script to yourself, if you can recognize it and destroy it right away, you're okay. If it starts to come in and you've accepted it and you're going to start to manifest it, then you got to go and do, wait a minute, step one, oh God, I'm in script. Okay, I recognize them, and you got to do the same 7 steps, or you got to do the same script steps, even when you're reading it to yourself. So try, obviously, to catch it right away, recognize it and destroy it. Let's talk about kid. Or are we okay with script? Do we have any more questions on script?
Do you go right the way through to 7?
What?
You go right the way through to 7.
Me?
Well, I mean, you were saying there, you go right the way through.
I can.
I mean, you may be able to, but we may not be at that stage.
Yeah, so what do you want to talk about?
So, we mean, we get to sort of stage 4, or something like that.
Yeah.
Do we try to continue right the way
Well,
through?
Barbara said to take, you know, every week. I mean, we were on these for a long time, you know. We would, on step 6, we may have been on step 6 for 3 months.
Yeah. So, I mean, you would only go sort of complete a step before
Yes,
you...
yeah, it
one, yeah.
says here somewhere, do not go to the next step until you have completed the step before. See, that's the only drawback, that you guys are getting this all at once. We only had it step 1, that's all we had to worry about, step 1. And then the next week we'd get step 2, and then, you know, so it's tempting to want to go to step 7 and right in the very beginning. So you must be patient and do step 1 until you recognize that every time you're in emotion, you can recognize it. And once you can do that, and only you know that, unless you're working in a group and you're working with people that have done this work before, and they can kind of help you out. But you can put yourself through this. You know, do your meditation and get your eye in gear, and then do the work. So, do you want to go on to step 5 now? Is that what you're saying? You want to discuss step 5?
Not particularly. I was just questioning that you seem to say, I got the idea that you just went on right through the steps.
No. I mean, I can now sometimes.
Yeah.
but I certainly couldn't in the beginning. I mean, you've heard the tapes. We stumbled and, wait a minute, Barbara, what do you mean? You know, I mean, we were, anyway, it took us a long time. Elsie.
Okay, there seems to be a little area between 3 and 4 that I get hung up on. And that is, recognize I had no power not to radiate my script.
Yeah.
Okay, that cuts it to forgiveness for 3 or 4 times in radiating a horror script. But then about the 5th or 6th time, and if I'm still radiating that horror script, I have a real hard time. It's like, you should know better by now.
No.
I mean, I have that area of self-loathing for still radiating it when you ought to know better.
Yeah,
kind of a thing.
that's
how do you get to not hating yourself for continuing to radiate when you think you're working so hard and it still keeps popping up and popping up?
Dottie, are you saying that you're so spiritual you should be better?
I'm asking how to keep from hating yourself.
What you do,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to give you an answer.
Yeah.
We had this like a couple of years ago. Barbara asked us the question about what is it that has to be forgiven?
Right.
And what, do you remember what that was?
The kid.
That's right. That's right. That's how you get past.
What if it just keeps happening and it doesn't? You're not getting any. It just keeps continuing, and the kid keeps writing it, and you keep radiating it, and you're not getting rid of it. It just keeps. The pages aren't. You said the pages start getting torn up. What if they're not getting torn up?
Where are you having trouble?
I don't know. In that right.
No. I mean, can you speak specifically about events?
I've been having. Let's see. At least an hour and a half. Okay. My little dog started manifesting lumps. Okay, and the vet said he has cancer. Okay, somebody said, well, that's your script. You're projecting it on. Why would it's like. You project your okay, it's your consciousness okay, everything's now picturing in my state of consciousness. How could you manifest a horror script like that with your little animal?
No, it takes 2. The little dog has God consciousness too. First of all, it takes 2, and that you don't have that's not true.
The students have said that to me. Says, oh, you're all picturing that,
No.
and I'm like,
You're not blaming yourself for doing that.
No.
That's the problem is. Like you're blaming.
Well, I mean, I wasn't until somebody said you're manifesting.
No.
And I'm going,
Perhaps the human consciousness now is not perhaps. The human consciousness is radiating that stuff. And that's where all that comes from. It's impersonal, has nothing to do with you at all.
Right.
Nothing to do with you at all.
So then how do you work the script? Well,
That has nothing to do, I don't see how it has anything to do with script except that you reacted to it.
right.
So what is your script, do you know? I mean,
Well, my major one is the same as Barbara's. I'll be ignored.
you. Say you. You don't ever say I will.
You will be ignored
Yeah.
and treated with indifference, and you won't count and you won't matter. That's the bottom thing.
And so your resistance behavior is?
To make sure I make a difference.
Mm-hmm. And so when they said that to you, that keyed into your script, right? Because you didn't make a difference.
Right. I couldn't fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing about resistance behavior is that you got to stop it. Just have to stop it.
Okay.
Are you real aware of your resistance behavior?
No.
It's a beauty. I mean, it's like the two things that we can really get rid of our hidden script with are knowing everything that we've hated, to make, when you hear that instruction on the tape about make a list of everything you ever thought you hated, be sure you do that list, because within the hate list are the events that keep happening to you that you've always hated, and that's your script. And I'm going to do a blackboard thing here, but I can use this microphone, can I? I want to,
It's on. You just have to talk.
The other day in one of my classes, I did this whole thing about the whole picture of script, and maybe I can do it again, but can you all see this? Everybody comes in, bottom line, you'll never be good enough. Everybody walking around with that. It's a universal hidden script, bottom line script, you'll never be good enough. Then we all come in with our own very personal devil script, which is our hidden script. That's there. That's right on top of that. So by the way, after you've reached a point on this work where you've pretty much gotten rid of your hidden script, then this one really starts going at you, you know. Anyway, so then we have resistance behavior, which is up here, which we do, behavior is doing. We do resistance behavior so that this won't happen to us. My script is you will never make it, and I'm an actress. And so I used to study. Every teacher, and I'm a dancer and a singer, and I was like always in class. I was always studying. I mean, and working so that I would make it. And so it gets very tricky because my going to class is right. My concern about if I don't go to that class, I'm not going to make it, is what I was doing so that my hidden script of you'll never make it wouldn't come true. I'll show you how sick I was. I wouldn't do anything in my life unless it had something to do with my career. And I love to be in my home, and I love to cook, and I had to justify everything. I was standing at the kitchen peeling potatoes, and I go, okay, well, this will give me a lot of carbohydrates so that I can dance really good tomorrow. And that's how I justified everything. That's resistance behavior. Why didn't I just enjoy peeling the potatoes? No, I had to make a reason for it. Then, so that's the hidden script. Then we write a fantasy script. I don't want to put the infinity sign. Fantasy, which is the script that we write so that it makes the hidden script bearable. So we have two things that we're doing. We have the hidden script, and we're doing resistant behavior so that it won't happen. And then we have this fantasy script to make it bearable. So like if I would go into an audition, I would come out and I would start getting all of this stuff about how terrible it was, how terrible the audition went. I would go right to my fantasy, and I said, well, that doesn't matter. Next year I know I'm going to get a series. You know? Or I'm going to get a movie, or I'm going to get whatever. I mean, fantasy. I wrote that to make this bearable. Now what else? The universal parent? Oh yeah. Right. Thank you. Then, we have to do kid first. Yeah. Now the kid writes this script. That's the kid, and it writes this script. And it has this script of you will never make it, has served me for a lifetime because I just worked so hard. And it goes in other areas than just my career. I'll never make anything. I'll be late for this date. I'll be late for that date. And so this hidden script has had survival value up until this point now where I don't need it. And when we start reading our scripts to ourselves, it's the universal parent. Give it all And the universal parent.
How about some horns?
Yeah. That's for sure. The kid is, he wrote the script, right? And it uses the universal parent to give it back to us. You'll never make it. You didn't do good in that audition. You better go to another dance class. Da 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 da.
So it's the mouthpiece.
It's the mouthpiece.
Or the script.
of the script, of not only the hidden script, but the you'll never be good enough. You'll never be good enough. You'll never be good enough. And that's when I do this. That's when I'm talking about the universal parent hypnotism. It never stops. It just never stops. And you have to keep it up. Yes.
The way to find our hidden script is through the list of our desires and hates.
Yeah, it's through the hate list, and watching for your resistance behavior. I'll give you an example of hate, and I just really uncovered this. I mean, I didn't realize how sick I was. When I made up my hate list, one of the things that I hated, my father was an alcoholic, and I hated that he was an alcoholic. Because later on I found out why I really hated it. It's because because if my father was an alcoholic, how could I have the kind of career I wanted? Because everybody would know my father was an alcoholic and they wouldn't give me the job. See, I mean how sick and insidious, huh? Oh, it's awful. It's awful. So what you want to do is make up a hate list of everything you ever thought, even thought you hated, because it may not be in this lifetime, but it may be back there, maybe back on another one. Okay, so and then watch out for your resistance behavior. What are you like driving what are you driven by? What are you a script of you will always be denied, you will make darn sure that you get everything and it's not but it's the concern. Barbara said it's the concern. It's a concern that you'll always be denied. I want to say one other thing here. Let's see what else. No, I did that. Resistance behavior. Oh, yes. When we start reading our scripts to ourselves, that's the thing that terrorizes our kids the most. Because then you are giving it back just what it is doing. I mean, just what it is saying, and you're saying, you're right, kid, you're right, kid. Do you know what I'm saying? I was going to the beach last year, and I'm sorry about you guys that have heard this story before, but it was like so prevalent. I was going to the beach. I had my bicycle on the back of my Jeep, and I love to do that. And my kid loves to go to the beach and ride my bike on the beach. And so it was the first time I really put the bike on the back of the Jeep and tied it all up and everything. And I went to this gas station, and I said to the guy, will you please check my bicycle just to make sure that it's all really okay? I'm going to do it. He said, oh, it's fine. He said, go, have a good time, don't worry. I said, whoa, he was being used as an instrument for me, not to do that, not to worry. And so I'm on the freeway, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror because my bike is like bouncing, and I'm starting to get the hypnotic suggestion. You're never going to make it there to the beach. The bike is going to fall off, and you have an accident. I started getting all this stuff, and my kid goes, oh no, please don't listen to that. And right away I said, hey, I got this. I've got you, I've got the bike, capital I, we are going to the beach, and I stopped it right there. But I could have driven myself crazy with that and spoiled the whole thing. So that's how, it's just so, it just doesn't ever stop. And, that's what I wanted to just want to wrap up this one thing about that. It terrorizes the kid when we read our scripts to ourselves. And one other thing, then I know what.
I wanted to ask: is the universal parent then talking to the kid?
It's just talking to it's talking to whatever will receive.
The adult won't receive.
No, the adult won't receive.
Okay.
Kid. Oh yes. If your script is, and don't forget, in the beginning of these tapes, Barbara always, and because it was a progression, and she was being taught, constantly as she went on. the script started off, I mean, we were to use I will never and I will always. And then later on we changed that for sure to you. You will never or you will always, because it puts some distance between you and your script. You want to disengage. And so, just in your minds, when you're hearing the beginning tapes, turn it over from I to you. And secondly, and then I'm going to take questions again, that if your script is you will never be loved, or something, whatever your script is, you will never, da-da-da-da-da, remember that that's your kid that wrote that script, and that's what that kid wants. Mine wanted just to say, look, you made it. You made it. You made it. Thank you. You made it. If I had a script of you will never be loved, I would know that that kid needed a lot of love from my adult. You will be ignored and treated with indifference. It's funny because the people who have scripts like that sometimes are the ones who are not dealing with their kids because they have the script of you will be ignored, and they ignore their kids, or you will never be loved, and they're not loving their kids. But it's true with all of us. But I mean, we have to give our kids the opposite of what our script is. Also, if you know what your I asked this question a long time ago in class, and I we all have the numerology of what our numbers are. I mean, we did that. We've just played around with it, and so we all pretty much know what our numbers are. And I said, is your script the opposite of what your numerology number is that you come in to do? My number is an 8, which is success, and then I had the script of you will never make it. So it's just really interesting. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I've found an interesting catch-can in the kid believes it'll never get what it really wants. If it really, really wants it, it won't be able to have it. And then with the spiritual principles, if you desire or want it, you can't have it, you won't be able to get it, kind of a thing. And it's like this funny catch-can.
But the only thing, Dulce, that the kid really wants is your attention and your love. It doesn't really want things and ice cream and...
No.
Well, these aren't tangible things that the kid wants. They're not tangible.
If it's whatever it...
Like love is not tangible.
That's right.
Not like you want
but
ice cream.
If your kid wants love, believe me, it's only looking for it from you. And it doesn't matter if you were up on a stage and everybody were applauding and loving and loving and loving and loving you. Your kid would go, so what about you, Dulce?
What's the connection between that kid and then the spiritual stuff of the Buddha, which is don't have any desires, don't have any wants? That's the adult, though. That's the adult.
Yeah.
The adult is satisfied.
The adult is satisfied, but the kid, in the beginning, when we have these children, these babies, and some of them are so little that they're not even talking. And at that point, you just have to hold them, and tell them that you love them, and tell them, I'm talking about our inner children, and what we will do, see, all we're doing when we're loving our children is raising them up, because they can't go, it's just like Bradshaw, they can't go to the next stage until they have been satisfied in every stage before. So that if your child is an infant, you have to hold it and love it and say, I'm glad you're here and I love you and I'll always be for you, here for you. When they're 2 and 3 and 4 or they start talking around 4, and then they will tell you, and let them, what they need to do is express, it says right here, just let them talk. I'm going to get to the end of what you're asking. Let them talk, express, no buts, because they are bringing to you all of those lifetimes back there. They've got all of that to express. It isn't just this lifetime. It's from the beginning that they've never been seen or heard. And so that's our job, is just to sit there and say, yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, And once they do that, they start to grow up, and they start to grow up. And then you can, and that's all of step 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all building trust by letting them express themselves. Always validating, no buts at all. I mean, not even a but like, and I was, it's funny, you know, when I was typing this, I had a but in there, and I said, whoa, can't even remember where it was. Oh, yes, it was on, right here where it says, on step 2, where it says, no buts. You can say, I'm really sorry that happened to you because I wasn't much help to you and couldn't help you back then. And I had a but in there. But it's, but you can't even say that. You just say, it's not true now. It's not true now, and you never again have to cope with that. So no matter what they say to you, you just validate, validate, validate until you can get to the step 5, which is the reassurance. And this is the thing that they have to be able to be grown up enough to hear, Dulcie, which is your goal is to rear the child to the point where the trust has been built so that you can say to the child, I cannot give you my capital reassurance unless you abide in me. And then you become one. And that's when you continue to love it, but it isn't the kind of love that you had to give it when it was little. And that is when all of the wonder now and all the talent and the charm and the enthusiasm and all the wonderful, wonderful part of you is now free to be, but it's all part of the one now, but it's all free to be all that wonderful stuff because the other part has been grown up and expressed and understood, and it trusts you, and now you are one. So if you are looking still out there, it's you, only you, that she wants. How old is your kid?
4.
Do you write?
Volumes.
See, you know, you may have had lifetimes, Dulcie, of never being loved. What is your script? Will you be ignored and you'll never matter?
Never again.
You know, you may have you have lifetimes of that. You have a lot to get up. Do you have to have an appointment with her every day now? If my kid weren't, moving along, I would do that.
Okay.
Okay. Laura.
Also, I found that in the beginning, I didn't really want to communicate with my kid a lot because I expected her to be better than she was, and I noticed she said I was really angry at her for out-picturing what's in front of me, and I'm going, wait a minute, as your responsibility of the adult, why don't you let the I out-picture your life, the challenge there is to say to the kid, I'm sorry I'm not taking care of you enough, and I'm not here enough to be able to deal with our world, and I've left it up to you and you don't know how to do it. I'm sorry, please forgive me.
Right.
It's not the kid's fault.
Right.
I wasn't there.
Right, absolutely.
You're angry at the kid, and I was so angry I didn't want to look at her. I hated her because she wasn't good enough for me. And then you realize, geez, I was...
Right.
Where was I to take care of this kid? There was no parent there. Now you're the parent. There's no room to hate this poor kid that you've been stepping on.
Right. Right.
It's like, because I felt an anger toward this kid, and I why is she out picturing this dog with me? Oh, wait a minute. She's not doing anything except for waiting you to say, look, whatever you are, I love you, and I'll take care of it, and I'll take care of your life, and you just stand beside me. You don't have to outpicture it.
Yeah.
The kid doesn't outpicture. That's what you do, and you're taking the life back to the adult, and you outpicture it. That's what I want to say, because when somebody says they hate their kid, I just because that's how, it took me like a year to get over that one,
Yeah. What is your
It's
script?
important. Mine?
Yeah.
I'll never be good enough.
You'll never be good enough.
Yeah. You'll never be good enough.
You have a double, you'll never be good enough?
Yeah. You'll never be good enough. You'll never be good enough. Yeah, that's
It's a double. Let me get, yeah.
I know that all of this is going to be incredibly valuable to me.
Yes?
What I'm wanting to do, though, is, again, my only experience is through Bradshaw.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard any conversation in reference to letting the kid experience and feel the pain that it had when it was that it still has.
That's what
I spent a year that I didn't, every single day, I allowed that kid to cry. And I mean, I just sat down and I cried. And I actually, when I felt the pain, I would allow myself to go towards the pain,
Right.
not avoid it.
Right. No, we're not saying avoid it. We're saying sit down. That's what I mean about expressing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you kept saying expressing it, in listening to the way you were saying that, it was almost like as if the person was supposed to sit and have a conversation about something, as opposed to expressing the feeling and feeling whatever's there, whether it's tears or laughter or whatever it is.
Whatever it is, and if it's.
I didn't. My listening was
Yeah,
not
well,
that was what you were saying.
Yeah. Well, I just meant expressing itself, and just and let it do and say and be whatever it is.
Right.
That's to do with these sort of clear away the wreckage of the past, isn't it?
What, Madge?
Well, if we hadn't had the Bradshaw work,
Right.
would we be able to do what we're doing now with the kid? I mean, it's so much easier.
I know it's easier for you.
Because we did the Bradshaw work.
Um,
Yeah, but you did other work. When you told me you did some kids.
What I've been saying to people, just a second, what I've been saying to people if they haven't done the Bradshaw work, because it's one of the best ways that I know now is to do the artist way. That's why I recommend the artist way, because it does get you in touch with your kid. And those morning pages, particularly if you're doing a program on your own and you don't have the luxury of being in a group the way we were, that it's a wonderful way to again do it on your own. That's the best way I know now to do it.
I just want to say, I'm not an advocate of like everybody's trying to do Bradshaw. All I know is that that's where I came from.
Oh, he's fabulous. We did it. Barbara put us through all of it, and then she sent some of us out to do it with other people. I mean, I worked with a lot of people for a couple of years on Bradshaw. It was invaluable, and so it made it real. Excuse me.
It's the only vehicle that I've had.
Good for you. You'll have a much easier time with this.
Maybe.
Okay. What'd you say?
was just about to say that I found a lot of that stuff came up in I hate, I love. And
Sure.
I was able to work through a lot of those feelings
Mhm.
through those lists.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
I'm also doing out as well. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Can you repeat?
Oh, she said that she found that a lot of the kid work was done through the love, hate, fear, and desire list, and that she's also doing the artist way. Yes.
I had a thought on.
You better speak up.
I had a thought on what Dulcie was talking about, because when she initially started talking about the kid and saying, why here I'm doing all this work, why isn't the kid changing or growing? Did I hear that correctly?
Like
Something
doing
you're
it
gonna
like
say?
15 years
Yeah,
ago.
why isn't the kid
still very wounded? And I'm like,
yeah, I'm wondering if, I'm reminded of, it's on the tape about Erica's kid, that Erica was having trouble with the kid, and wasn't making progress with the kid, and then it came through with Barbara that she saw Erica's kid, that Erica was not seeing her kid as a kid, and this is what that reminded me of, because if a kid is only 4 years old, it sounded almost as though you were saying, come on kid, this is what Erica was saying to her kid, come on, get out of the way, and and just don't bother me and this kind of stuff, and then let's get on with this, just don't hamper me, and this kind of stuff, instead of seeing the kid how really vulnerable and little and powerless the kid was, so that it could do this, and that I had to be the one who had to do it until it was enough for the kid. And I'm wondering if you really are seeing your kid truly as vulnerable as it really is, and as little and helpless as it really is. 4-year-old is really little, and really, really vulnerable, and really needs all of your love and nurturing and understanding.
and patience. And maybe that's what it's missing. I mean, it's just an idea.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And Dulcie, when you go into situations where it's really important that your adult be in gear and not your kid, do you do like Barbara says and put the child, say, you get behind my skirt, I'm going to take care of this?
I have done that. I don't always do that.
Yeah,
I don't
well, I
always
mean...
remember what, but I have remembered and done that, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that's...
I actually have a little nursery right there with the door open that I put her in with all of her favorite things. You know, she leaves the door open and she has a nanny and the whole thing, you know.
Okay.
I get real creative.
What does it mean, or is it common to...
Speak up.
Oh, what does it mean, or is it common to resist embracing the child, the kid?
It means you're reading your script to yourself.
Could you elaborate a bit? What does it mean, or is it common to resist embracing the child?
I said it. I mean, it means you're reading your script to yourself. What is your script? Do you know?
I don't know quite yet. I'm close to it, but I'm not sure.
Do you have your hate list? Do you have one?
Not with me.
Do you have it with you at the sportsman?
Back of my room.
You know, grab me one time and I'll go over it with you, because maybe I can help you zero in. Just know that you've got one, a kid, a child. Barbara says, you may discover it through hurt feelings. Believe me, it's hurt. Believe it's for sure, it's hurt. And if you are resistant to doing it, then you must get your eye in gear and sit down every day and at the same time and make an appointment with that child and put a chair on the other side. Get creative. You don't have to build a nursery. Put a chair opposite you, and if you want to put a picture of you when you were the age that you think she is. How old do you think your little girl is?
Well, I've actually had, fairly daily conversations with her. She's about 3 or 4, I would say, now.
Okay, you've had...
But she's not talking very much yet.
Yes, because some of them don't. She may be really angry. And that's why you have to build trust. Just constantly build the trust. Every day, get the chair, sit there and say, I'm listening. It's more that you listen to her than you talk to her. I find a lot of people talk to their kids and just say, what was your name when you were a little girl?
Susanny.
Little Susanny, I'm here and I am listening to you. That's cute. Say, I'm listening to you, and then shut up and listen. And if she doesn't say anything, just say, I love you, and I'll be here tomorrow. And one day, okay, that's one way you can do it. Another way is that you can write like Bradshaw teaches. It's a fabulous method. Do you know that one?
Yeah.
You write with your right hand, if you're right-handed, or with you write with your left-handed. With your left hand, dear little Susanny, I love you and I'm here for you. Is there anything you want me anything you want to say? And then put the pen in the other hand and let her go. And also, I think it's a really good idea. In the beginning, I did this when I would go into meditation in the morning. I would say, "Come on and go with me." What? Is there somebody? Okay.
I'm sure that I'm not at step 5, but I have a question about it anyway.
On kid or script?
On kid.
Yeah.
Because it seems like when you say, okay, when you say you were right, but it will never happen again.
I didn't say but, did I?
Oh, well, it says it on the paper.
It says?
You were right, but it will never happen again.
Where?
Under reassurance.
What number?
5A.
5A.
Cross it out.
Well, that wasn't on the but sign. I mean,
Well, that's not my question. My
Okay,
question
go
is
ahead.
About that.
You were right, but it'll never happen.
You were right, and it will never
Okay.
happen again. Okay.
Okay.
And then down below where it says, "Come and abide in me, and I will never leave you nor forsake you."
Yes.
You really have to have done all the other steps first, because I wouldn't dare say it'll never happen again to my kid because I'm not there.
Of course not.
Right. Okay.
Oh, no,
I'm
you-
still in the 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, you do have to have enough Dalton gear in order to, but that's what you're in the process of doing.
Okay, well, my question is, I mean, when you were doing that, and when you got to step 5,
Yes.
you never did any of it again once you got there?
Never did any of what?
Whatever that you did to your kid that you're saying you were right, and it will never happen again. Whatever it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I ever do it again? I might have slipped, but I think it's down, it says, around the bottom, it says if you slip back, go back to the step that was unfulfilled.
Okay.
Yeah, oh, sure. There are some areas, as Barbara said, there's some areas where you're so clear. And then you're clear here, and you're clear, and then over here you go, whoa, and you're not clear at all over there. So you have to work harder there. So I may be on step 5 over here, and in this section over here, I may be on. You have to just feel it, and if you make a mistake, you just go, oh, okay, I'm back here again. Okay. It's all an exercise.
And the other thing, I mean, because I can't, to me, right now where I'm at with this,
Mhm.
come and abide in me and I will never leave you nor forsake you, that's tough for me right now because I know that I'm not, little I's not there yet. There's still not enough adult and gear. So that's hard for me to relate to saying that to my kid.
Well, then don't, you wouldn't even want to do that at that point,
I want to get there, though.
Well, that's why we're here.
This is the end of side 2 of 7395A. You may now go on to Script Kid in Fantasyland Workshop, tape number 2.